Hey, everybody out there in video land. Welcome to another thrill-packed episode of I Hate Nazis, the only video rant that is guaranteed to clear up stubborn acne. No, really, it will. It works like a charm. We have some fine examples of Nazis at work here in America, from local officials to state legislatures to our federal government and beyond. The slow drift towards authoritarianism that America has been experiencing in recent years is actually accelerating, in my opinion, at a very rapid pace. A prime example of that are the statements that people freely make these days that would have landed them out on the street on their butts and shunned by most decent folks not really that very long ago. An example, a likely new director of education here in North Carolina, Michelle Morrow, said recently that, quote, prominent Democrats and others should be executed, including, get this, executing Barack Obama and Joe Biden on pay-per-view TV, quote, so we can make some money back. Imagine that. She's in charge of educating the kids, or will be. Another runaway and proud Nazi here in North Carolina is our illustrious Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson, now running for governor. He is well known here for saying that he, among other things, wants to go back to a time when women were not allowed to vote. He adamantly denies the Holocaust, claims that civil rights movement destroyed thousands, quote, destroyed thousands of good black schools, and that God put man on the planet to rule, especially over women. He is, in short, a loudmouth bully and a full-blown Nazi, and proud of it, as I said. His fellow Nazi, the great orange one himself, has called Robinson Martin Luther King on steroids, which is pretty rotten and nasty when you think about it. So you just know that the base is going to love him. The weaker Nazis here in North Carolina, and there are plenty of them, are distancing themselves from him somewhat, but they are still going to endorse him. They've all said so. Can someone explain to me how that works, please? I'd really like to know. How could you possibly put a stamp of approval on someone that you have zero respect for, that you wouldn't even have in your house for dinner, for Christ's sake? Just so you won't have to vote for a Democrat? I mean, give me a break, for Christ's sake. If you will recall, on orders from an out-of-office flunky who is under indictment in several courts, the bill to help secure the southern border, as well as provide desperately needed aid to Ukraine, was squashed by the Nazis in the House. Even though the bill was crafted by a very conservative senator from Oklahoma, James Langford, a man I rarely agree with. Recently, Rick Scott, Rick Perry from Pennsylvania, he's a well-known conspiracy theorist and insurrectionist, said without any sense of shame or irony that he had to vote to kill the bill because, get this, quote, the Democrats would run on it. Imagine that. He says in one breath that the border is the most critical issue facing America today, then turns around and says that he can't support the bill because it might, quote, make Biden look good. Think about that. He said, quote, they would run on what the bill would bring: the influx of officers and new jobs, tightening of searches for fentanyl and other drugs, the creation of hundreds of new immigration judges, and clearing the horrendous backlog that they all love ranting about. No, they love ranting about. They don't want to do anything about. Oh, no. We can't give them something they can run on. The simple fact is these Nazis just cannot govern. They just can't. Nazis always stink at the actual nuts and bolts of governing. Just look through history. And they always will, because essentially it is nothing more than a cult movement, devoid of any real focus or reason. This madness of the party über alles is something I never expected to live long enough to see here in America. It was inconceivable to this kid who grew up on army bases that people in our government could be so venal, so abjectly cowardly, and then defend that. I keep thinking that it must be they really do believe that, quote, it can't happen here, while working to make it happen here. Or we're just too big to fail, too established, too exceptional. Well, none of these things are true, of course, as anyone with half a brain will gladly tell you. It can and is happening right here, right now, this tilt towards dictatorship and the loss of rights. We are not too big to fail. Nothing in human history ever was too big to fail or ever will be too big to fail. Every society eventually falls. They all do. And we're doing it right now, and we're doing it to ourselves for the most part. And I really believe, having lived and worked all over the world, literally, that the only thing truly exceptional about us is our ability to delude ourselves that we are, quote, exceptional. We are just people, good people. Most of us are good people who just want what's best for each other, nothing more. But a lot of us are not good people, and they do not want what's best for each other. They want what's good for them. Those are the people who lust after power, who seek the levers of control to tell others what to think, what to feel, who to trust, and who to fear. I call those people Nazis. Let's take a look at a recent well-known event that happened down in Sweet Home, Alabama last week. A bunch of older white folks, if you remember, men mostly, decided that what they felt was right was going to be made into enforceable law, that they would force others to believe what they believe or suffer the consequences. That, my friends, is pure unbridled Nazism. But anyway, of course, old Southern white men are famous for not understanding at all how a woman's body functions, not even a little bit. Who will ever forget that idiotic statement a couple of years back, quote, in a real rape, a woman can just shut that whole process down. So I guess nobody's ever gotten pregnant by being raped, I guess. I mean, come on, gentlemen, come on. Give me a break. So they opened a veritable Pandora's box that turned around and bit them on the ass. Hard. They gave absolutely no thought to what they were doing or what the end result might be. Well, we saw one end result this week when Maryland Lands won a special election there with 27% margin, a 27% winning margin. For a Democrat in solidly MAGA-Nazi Alabama, that is a clear signal of what's ahead for the followers of the orange one. And folks, the hits just keep on a-coming. 2 Senate candidates reflect the extremism of the MAGA-Nazi mob perfectly. They are Kari Lake of Arizona, no surprise there, a state I was proud to call home for a while, had a couple of babies there, and Bernie Moreno of Ohio. Now, young Bernie there follows in the footsteps of another MAGA-Nazi weirdo, J.D. Vance. Like his good buddy J.D., Bernie was a Trump hater, especially after January 6th. He said things like once calling Trump a maniac and a lunatic. Those are quotes. And he was, quote, like a car accident that makes you sick. He also said the January 6th rioters were, quote, morons and criminals. But now that he has fallen into the Nazi way of thinking, he refers to those same people as political prisoners, and now says that the 2020 election was indeed stolen. I want to know, why do these cowards do their cowarding so out in the open? I mean, how do they do that? Do they really not care about what it looks like when they turn against their country and work to subvert the Constitution and our form of government, both of which they took an oath and swore to uphold and defend? And now everyone's heard of Ms. Lake, but that's a very big part of the reason why she does the things she does, the attention and the name recognition it brings her. Her antics are well documented, from continuously suing anyone and everyone she can think of till the courts made her stop, to secretly recording the state party chairman and using the tape against him in a bribery allegation that was totally bogus. She threw away a very lucrative TV career, I guess because she wanted fame outside of Arizona. Well, she has it now as the laughingstock that she has become. Well, that's it for today, kids. Hope you got a little riled up at the antics of these weird, sick people. Reach out to me here at the podcast at gvbrights.com. That's the email, thepodcast@gvbrights.com. Or just go to my site, www.gvbrights.com. I am convinced that we can beat these people. I am. and beat them badly in this election. We must completely obliterate the message of hate and fear coming from these Nazis and their enablers, who are, they're actually Nazis too, is when you think about it. So speak out whenever and wherever you can. I'll be back soon, and do not worry. There is not a snowball's chance in hell that I'm going to run out of material with these guys. So, adios.